Because this year we're going to jar them and pickle them, and I like to drink vinegar off of peppers because I'm my father's son. If you drink pickle juice, it's the same thing. It's just spicy.
Welcome back to the Ultimate Hobbyist.
She did it this time.
He didn't even know. He didn't even know it was going to happen.
Happy dance. Yes, season 2 continues. Season 2, episode 2. And if you're watching on YouTube, Dad, I see you. See right
Up, over.
there. You'll see we have the exact same clothes on because we are bulk recording tonight because we did that thing where we missed a month, so we're not gonna let that happen. So it is episode 2. You're probably hearing it a week after episode 1, but we recorded it literally minutes later. It's magic.
And this one's going to be about the garden. We finally got it put in. I was so worried about it. I have patients who would come in and start talking about their gardens, and I'm like, crap, I feel so behind. But lucky most of them were behind this year too because it's just been so off and on cold. Like we'd have 2 or 3 warm days where you're like, okay, let's get in garden mode, and then it was 20 degrees for 3 days in a row or something stupid, but not quite that cold. But the lows were that cold, so
Yep. So it was
it's
very
probably good that we were behind this year, honestly, as far as from a thing surviving standpoint.
Yeah, it was a very weird. It was a weird winter with some cold snaps, but nothing like the last few years. I don't feel like.
Yeah.
And then
consistent
it's not been as wet this year as it was last spring, so it's just been a weird year.
Until the last 2 weeks, and now it's all
Man,
flooding everywhere.
We did get a 4 days straight of just chaos rain,
Yeah, it's been.
which was nice. We needed it. Especially folks out west, Western Oklahoma really needed it. They are, I think they were under 2 inches of rain for the whole year into May, and they finally got. I think they tripled up. I think they're at 6 inches now or something.
Wow.
So they've
They're
had a
probably
very
flooding
rainy
too.
last week, right? Yeah, so we're going to talk about the garden tonight. We're going to start out just talking about last year's, and with it being our first year's, kind of some of the issues we faced and what we learned, and then how we're using that in this year's garden, what we've got done so far, what we still need to do, and then kind of our plans for stuff. So that's the layout, so we'll just get to talking about it. Last year's garden, we had moved here 2 years ago, but we moved here in May.
Yeah, we've been here right at 2 years.
Yeah. And so it was too late to get a garden in, and we just didn't have time. I mean, I just started a fresh job. Samantha just started a new job.
Adjusting, COVID, life was weird.
Yeah, we had a 1-year-old?
He just turned
2-year-old.
Yeah, he was about to turn 2 when we moved into the house.
Right.
And
And so he was kind of keeping us on our toes, finding him a place to go during the day. So it was a little bit of a wild time. All that to say, we didn't plan a garden on year 1. Year 2, so this was last spring, we decided we were going to plant a garden. And, I'm realizing something about myself, and that's that I have to have the largest of everything. And so gardens is no different. Don't roll your eyes at me. And so,
I think I rolled them loud enough people could hear without watching.
Probably. I wanted a huge garden. Part of it is to get more produce, like more plants. Because I just want to give stuff away, right? I want to help people that was our plan, was take it to school and give it to kids who their family didn't have things.
Or to the feed store, whatever.
Our second plan was go to the feed store and sell our bulk that we couldn't give to people and we weren't eating. But we just didn't end up making as much as we thought. So what I found out was what I really wanted was a very easy to weed garden. And so I wanted it big enough that there's space between every plant to till once a week or twice a week or whatever. It's like mowing the grass, but in your garden. Because I hate weeding gardens. It's out there right now with grass in it, and I'm just... This coming up week, I'll be off finally. We're in our next last day of school. So tomorrow is the last day of school. This weekend, we have a camping trip planned. And then we come back on Monday, I don't have anything. So I'm going to play in the garden all day. We got 5 more rows to plant, probably all green beans. But
I think something else I learned last year was we did plant way too early. Like we started with seeds, so we started in February, I think, and in theory it sounded good, but we didn't have anywhere to like transplant them to a bigger space. So once we started getting those sprouts, they got too big and it kind of stunted their growth for the containers we had them in, I feel like. So then when we did plant them, it took them a while to take off and adapt to their new environment, and then quite a few died, and we ended up having to replace those with, kind of the pre-grown seedlings anyway. And so
so we learned just go buy your stuff at wherever you buy.
I think we could still do seeds. This year we started too late, is why we didn't start with seeds. But
greenhouse maybe,
yeah,
right? If we could have a greenhouse with the ability to move up our container size, that would be worth it. This year we kept all the pots, so we bought everything from Lowe's this year. Lowe's gives a military discount if you didn't know, 10%, and so we can go in there and get our discount on the plants. They're still really expensive, but we get enough produce off of them, and we waste food sometimes by buying it. So we're going to shorten our grocery bill, which is very important right now with kind of how things are financially. And then same thing, we can help other people out. So it's like $5 a plant or $4.50 a plant, and then it makes 20 peppers and you give them away, or 30 tomatoes and you get whatever. So it's worth it to us.
He's joking. Tomatoes and peppers don't get given away. We make a ton of salsa with it.
But
the other thing that happened last year too is I was pregnant and had no interest in helping weed the garden or pick the produce. So I'd go pick like 3 rows worth and be like, peace out, I'm done. It was not a comfortable time for me. So yeah. I didn't help as much as what I could have.
She was growing a human. I was growing vegetables. It's the same thing. Not
the same.
What I meant was we both had our jobs. That's it. That's what I meant.
Sure.
So last year we put in a lot of pepper plants. I want to say, I know tomatoes too. We were at 42 tomato plants last year of different varieties. Mostly like early girls, better boys, bigger boys, and Romas. And then we did plant quite a few cherries. Yeah. Our intent was to make a ton of salsa. So we wanted all of the tomato varieties where we could kind of mix it up. Same thing with peppers. I enjoy hot peppers. By I enjoy hot peppers, I mean I like to test myself and see how hot of a pepper I can eat. And so every year, even at Broken Arrow, was 3-4 years ago when we had that garden, I planted ghost peppers. I planted not reapers. I want Carolina reapers, and I haven't found the plants, but basically ghost pepper and down. So if you think of like cayennes, jalapenos, of course. Habaneros. That was the other one. Yep. So.
But in Broken Arrow, what happened is like some sort of crazy cross pollination or something happened, and our bell peppers and jalapeno, everything was so hot. Everything was spicy. Everything had a kick.
It did, yeah.
The bell peppers were really good though, because it was like enough of a kick that it spiced them up, but they still had their like sweet flavor to them.
Yeah,
so those were good.
It wasn't Mexi Bell hot, but it was like kind of almost there. So it was good. So yeah, I planted a ton of different kinds of peppers last year, and they all made really well. Our Thais, I think we picked. We were getting
the little tiny ones.
The Thai chilies were like
500 on one plant.
Yeah, that was like within I don't know a month or something. Like they produced so stinking many.
Insane.
Yeah, and I'd already picked several hundred probably. So we planted 2 of those again this year, so we can have a bunch. Because this year we're going to jar them and pickle them, and I like to drink vinegar off of peppers because I'm my father's son.
Weird.
I'm not really weird. If you drink pickle juice, it's the same thing. It's just spicy and delicious.
Okay.
Yeah. We also did corn and okra and green beans last year. The green beans we planted really late. We planted all sorts of stuff. Broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. None of that stuff made. I think we got 2 heads of broccoli, and I picked them too late. They'd gone to seed. I didn't know that was a thing. I'd never planted broccoli before. So we did have some broccoli heads, but I was expecting like grocery store head of broccoli.
Yeah.
But no, it was baseball size maybe. And then the next day it had gone to seed, right? So the timing was weird.
We started getting quite a few Brussels sprouts too, but something was getting to them. Some kind of pest was getting to them.
The bugs was eating all the leaves off of them, so they didn't make very well. And the green beans just never made, I don't think. I think I made one picking, and then it was too late in the summer, I think. 'Cause we
Wasn't
planted
enough
way
to
late.
like have a serving at dinner or anything like that
Right.
at once.
Our okra came in very late. Our corn and our okra were both very stunted in growth, and I don't know why. I'm talking like 2 feet was the total size of the stalk. Okra continued to produce okay. We just didn't pick it enough, and we got a kind that got too big. And so you'd go out there and have a freaking 14-inch okra on the vine, or on the plant, and you're not eating that. So we
Too
basically
tough.
wasted all the okra. We got a few of them. I think we pickled one jar. Did we
Yeah.
pickle one jar
I think so.
of edible size? And that was it. And I don't even know that I've eaten that jar yet, so maybe I'll have to try. The corn did a really weird thing. So same thing, it stayed really short, but we had one plant for sure, and I think maybe more than one. I think it got a cancer because about the 2 foot mark, it just started producing. I don't know.
Plumes of.
It was probably like 100 mini stalks with like a leaf on every one of them, or like kind of the corn. You know how corn leaves are, but it just did that. It was weird. It stopped growing. It never produced anything. It just had like these hundreds of stinking stalks or whatever. So I don't know if it got cancer or what. It was super cool though. Just kind of see.
Super cool.
Yeah, but the corn, none of it ever made. I think I pulled 8 to 10 ears off of it, and they would be like a quarter of it would have kernels. It was very, very bad. So I don't know if the ground there was just not
Too
suited
rocky.
well. We have very, very rocky dirt, which is what we learned last year. So I don't know. I don't know if that hurt it or not. The other issue we had last year was our zucchini and our squash and our cucumbers got hit with a fungus. Cucumbers produced really well until that happened.
We
And
made
then,
lots of pickles.
yeah, and we ate some the other
They're
day.
so good.
So good. We have like 17 jars that are terrible, and then they just taste like
They
vinegar.
aren't terrible.
Nah, they're not very good. And then we have one giant jar
They're
of
still
super
homemade
delicious.
pickles.
And we always spice them up with peppers, so it was really good.
Peppers, garlic, dill.
That's about it. So our zucchini and our squash never really made. The butternut squash tried.
We got a few off of it, but again, I think it was just a matter of not getting all the weeds out and not consistently being out there to pick them off, and
Yeah, and the fungus
we just
really
didn't
knocked those
tend
plants
to
out.
it very well.
I tried a fungicide after I realized what was going on, and I don't know if it was just too late or it wasn't effective. I don't know, but the fungicide did not do anything. Everything died. So we lost all of our cucumbers, zucchini, okra, butternut squash. Not
Toward the
okra,
end of the year, though.
zucchini, squash. Yeah, all that stuff died. Tomatoes did really well. The issue I had on tomatoes, and it wasn't an issue at first, so we're trying to do no tomato cages. So what we did was we put a bunch of not steel, they're like some kind of metal rods in the ground, and then made a thing that goes over the top. So
Little frames.
yeah, basically framed over the top of it. And then we run string up off of that bar that's on top, run it all the way down to the base of the plant, and start a spiraling or kind of wrapping it. And then the plant will climb that string, and so you can pick your fruit from wherever the first fruit is toward the ground, all the way up to as tall as the plant will grow. A lot of them did well. The cherry tomatoes did, I think, the best of growing up the line and then producing, because
I think we got to those when they were the smallest too.
Yeah.
Like as far as getting that spiral going.
and also I didn't ever trim. So you're supposed to go out and kind of trim all the bottom branches, I guess. Yeah, sure. Off the tomatoes. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, there's like 1,000 places to YouTube it, or one place to YouTube 1,000 videos. And it will teach you how to kind of trim your pepper plants and your tomato plants. But anyway, essentially, if you're looking at a tomato plant, it'll have a branch that comes off the side that will be leaves, and then it'll have one at the 45-degree angle, and that is actually another main branch. And so what you're supposed to do is allow like 2 to 3 of those total of the main branches on all of your tomato plant. That's it. If you get more than that, the plant will use more energy growing as a plant than it will producing. I did not get to it early enough last year. And so we were out there trying to wrap these plants that had like 7 main branches, and they were already, 18 inches wide or whatever, and we're trying to wrap string around them and get them to climb. It was just way too late. So this year I've already went out and pruned my tomato plants. I did it tonight actually while I was watering, and I trimmed them all the way up to the first fruiting branch, which is what you're supposed to do. Yeah, so we kind of took care of that earlier this year, but that was an issue we faced last year with trying that method. A lot of them still climbed and produced, but a lot of them were very bushy, and then once they got that heavy, that early, it was like hurting the plant to wrap a string around it.
Yeah. Breaking stuff off as we were trying to make it work, and then breaking those main branches off didn't help our plants any.
Nope. So we lost all of our gourds, all of our vining stuff. Brussels sprouts didn't work out. Broccoli, cauliflower, lettuce. Excuse me. None of that stuff really worked out well. We got lettuce twice, and it was very weird. It was like milky.
Yeah, it was really strange. We did not eat it.
No, I don't know if you're supposed to eat milky lettuce or not.
That was
But
so strange.
it looked like milkweed when I cut it, so I was out on that. I just let it grow, just have a plant out there growing, so it was kind of cool. I think we might have fed it to the goats.
Probably. It ended up in the goat bucket for sure.
Yeah. So that was last year's garden. So this year, what did we do? So far this year, we started 2 weeks ago tilling it in. We just have like a little 5 horsepower tiller, I think. Maybe it's 4. I don't know. My brother gave it to me.
Bounces all around.
Yeah. 2 or 3 years ago, he gave it to me. It's a front tine. It works great for us because we have a lot of rock in our soil. I mean, a lot of rock in our soil. My father raked a 20 by 15 area the other day, and it's probably 30 gallons of rock in a 3-gallon bucket. I'm going to carry off at least 10 of those. So lots and lots and lots of rock here. Well, my father-in-law had said that his tiller is a rear tine and that the rocks would get caught. There were so many rocks, and it would actually break like the pins that were in the, where the tiller's trying to drive. So with this front tine, at least it bounces off those rocks and it kind of bounces around and it's moving all over the place. Makes it rather hard. However, I don't break it, so I can keep using it, and then we can eventually thin the rocks out. So we got it all tilled in about 2 weeks ago. And this year, I just wanted to make sure that I put a little bit of extra space between plants, because last year, especially my pepper plants, as they matured and started fruiting, I found out that I could no longer really till between them without damaging them. Like I'd catch a limb or some leaves or whatever, or one plant, I think I completely, it ripped it in half, so it was a bad deal. So this year I went a little bit extra wide on all my rows and like the distance between, so that tilling is a lot easier. And then
And we made a map this year. So last year we knew what was in each row, but we didn't know like which tomato plant was which, or we couldn't remember which color pepper we planted or which type of pepper it was in the different rows. So this year we actually made a map so that we know what is what and where it is and how it works and all that. And Beckett, who's making his appearance for this evening, did a fantastic job helping us dig holes for the tomato plants. He truly did. Like, I watched him, I kind of just let him have his space, and he dug the hole with his little shovel. He took it out of the plastic container and put the plant in the hole that he dug, and then covered it back up with dirt. He did fantastic. I was very surprised at how well he did, because I gave him no instruction. He had just been watching us do it, and he did it perfectly. Do you remember doing that last couple weeks ago? Did you plant tomatoes with Mom and Daddy?
Mommy,
Yeah,
what's
baby.
up, buddy?
I love you.
I love you. I was talking about you. Do you want to tell them how you planted tomatoes last week or a couple weeks ago?
Nope.
No.
Okay. So another thing we did this year is we rotated our crops. So everything that didn't work last year, our corn, our okra, all of our vines and gourds. We didn't do Brussels sprouts this year. We didn't do any of the broccoli or cauliflower because it just didn't work. And I don't know if we planted them at the wrong time. I don't know. I have to do way more research before I waste the money and space on those. Anyway, we swapped basically the peppers and everything else. So we knew the peppers were super productive last year, super successful. So we rotated those crops, and we're hoping to, number one, get our corn, which is up, finally. We have corn up as of yesterday, I think. I also spaced the corn a little bit more this year. So last year, the package says like plant it every 4 inches, and then once it comes up, leave 12 inches, like pull living plants out of the ground to leave 12 inches. And I was like, I can't. So I left them too close together. This year we did 4 rows, and then they're the 12-inch spacing because we knew the kernels were going to come up, so we didn't worry about the every 4 inches. And then we actually kind of did 2 rows in one, and so the rows are about 8 inches apart for each set. So 2 rows, yeah. So it kind of does like a zigzag thing, right? It's just
Staggered.
offset. Yeah. So we're hoping that it does really well. Did the same thing with our okra. It's not up yet. Anyway, we're really wanting some corn and okra and green beans this year. Our green beans are already up as well. I planted 3 different types of green beans, and I don't even remember the names of them anymore because it's been so long ago. The Bushmasters was the original ones, and they have not been successful. They were not good last year. That's what we planted. This year they've not been good. So Blue Lake Bush Green Beans is what they were called. They have not done well either year. This year, like maybe 2 out of, I don't know, 40 plants came up so far. The tender green improved green beans have come up, every one of them. And they're a brown seed when you're planting them, and everything else has been white. So the white ones have not done well. The brown ones have done great. So we did, once again, plant a ton of peppers, red ghost, habaneros, jalapenos. I like the Anaheims. So I don't know if you've ever had an Anaheim pepper, but if you haven't, you need to try one because they are my favorite. So they're super sweet like a bell pepper, but they're hotter. I would say they're probably equivalent to a jalapeno that you grow at home, not a store-bought jalapeno because those are always a lot milder. They're delicious, though. They're great on like a sandwich or just to eat with any stinking thing you want to. They're not so much like a test pepper, you know, like the red ghost pepper. Every year I call my brothers on FaceTime and I do a, hey, y'all, watch me suffer in misery with this ghost pepper. Last year I was going to mail them out. So I waited till I had enough to mail everybody one, and that didn't happen.
Well, they also said they weren't going to participate.
Yeah, so none of them are. What I'm saying is they're a bunch of chickens. Every one of you. Probably not even watching this, but you need to, or listen to it. Yeah, so we just planted a bang load this year. I think we have, man, I can't even remember. I think we have 42 pepper plants this year. And I have no idea how many tomatoes. We did the same thing with our tomatoes. We planted a bunch again because we're going to make a lot of salsa. We made a very small amount of roasted salsa last year. So obviously Sam got me the Traeger for Father's Day, and then I decided to put all the ingredients for salsa on the Traeger. I probably smoked it for 30 minutes or something till kind of things started to look, like they were softening up or whatever. And then we ground it all up, put it in a jar.
Awesome salsa.
It's the best thing I've ever eaten
So
in
good.
salsa. It was fantastic. So we're going to do that a lot this year too. We're going to make a ton more of the salsa that's roasted in hopes that we can actually use all our tomatoes and none of it goes bad. Anyway, enough about what we planted. Really our plans this year, that salsa that we were talking about, the roasted salsa, we want to make a lot of it. We want to pickle everything we can. So I want to pickle a ton of peppers this year.
And pickles. We want to pickle pickles.
Yes, and a lot of pickled cucumbers because we love them. We eat them all the time. Beckett loves them. And this year we just didn't end up with enough jars. We bought a ton of jars thinking we'd fill them, and just kind of our production really
Plateaued.
it went away like as soon as we got ready to start canning stuff. So we're prepared this year though, so we've made this massive thing and we're hoping that it really helps us.
And we plan to plant some dill and some marigolds and some other herbs.
Yes.
That can help with pest as well as, obviously we can use the dill. Last year we had our own dill as well in a separate part of the garden so we were able to use fresh dill for our pickles, and we had several other things, but that was the main one that we actually harvested.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that pretty much does it.
What are you
That's our
most
garden.
excited about your garden?
The peppers. Eating hot peppers.
What's your favorite part about taking care of a garden?
Outside time.
What's your least favorite part? I don't know.
Weeding. I like being out there. I don't like bending over and making my back hurt. Pulling stupid grass. We may try to do a tarping system this year to kind of like burn out the spot where we want our garden to be. We planned to do it this year, but we just didn't ever get around to it. It was one of those things that went to the back burner because it's not really necessary.
Well, also, we
helpful.
thought we were going to get some, like, billboard tarp things, and then that never happened. So that made it another challenge.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, I think that's all we have for the garden. We will keep you updated on harvests and when things start making. We already have flowers. We've already got, we're already getting whatever that's called when they flower. Yep, blooms. We're talking about blooms on a lot of tomatoes, on a lot of peppers. So things are already looking really good. I'm pumped about them coming out. Maybe I'll post a video eating a ghost pepper this year. Who knows?
Oh, yeah. That's definitely going to be an episode.
And Sam can too.
No, thank you.
She can eat like a jalapeno or something out of the garden. Yep, it's happening. All right. So thanks for joining us on our adventure, and we will talk to you next time on The Ultimate Hobbyist.